Welcome back to another episode of the Conjugate Dads Podcast. I'm joined by my bearded co-host, Justin Commodoris. I'm Dave Chase. We were just talking about how in the wintertime, sometimes you gotta grow out the beard. I'm a 12-month beard guy. Justin is well, first, welcome, Justin. Are you more of like a 4 to 6 month, like a winter beard guy?
It depends, because you can tell, like, I'm very particular about how I keep this up and the lines and fading and all that kind of stuff. So I always thought that, what's the guy's name in that game called God of War? He has the most immaculate beard in that game. And I always thought that was super cool looking.
Kratos?
Kratos. Yeah. I always thought that beard was super cool looking. So like, I just like to keep mine as tight as possible. But if I screw it up, because I do use a straight blade, if I screw it up, it's coming off. So
Right. That makes sense.
as long as I can keep it where it needs to be, then that's great. I'm bald by choice, so I do grow hair on my head, but I also like the way that my head looks without hair on it. And because everyone in my family has such a beautiful head of hair, I feel like sometimes it's nice for me to have something to brush and to have hair. So it's like, I gotta try and fit in a little bit, but it'll be seasonal, I'm sure. We'll see.
I mean, that definitely makes sense. You gotta have your thing, that's for sure, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I gotta have the thing.
Yeah, like the beard is my thing. Whenever you say I'm bald by choice, it feels like a personal attack because now I'm bald because I'm bald. So it's
You
I
still
know
have
it's not.
some. You still have some. It's just like,
There's just a giant crater that's getting bigger and bigger with each day, and I think Emily even said the more that you talk about it, the more I notice it. I'm not shaving it as much as you. I think I'm shaving it like once every 2 weeks or something like that, just because I don't work in an office. Anyway, our topic today is about why it is so important for older adults. So that would be, I would say, in my opinion, anyone over 30, you could go on the low end. 35 to 40 is really where we're starting to really specifically talk about it. But for the sake of this argument, I'm 33. 34 at the end of the year. Justin's 43. So somewhere in that 35 to 40 range, if you're not already doing this, why you should employ athletic movements in your training.
so I think you look at, the first thing you look at is like, most people will play sports from the time that they can really run and jump and do different things like that up until, let's just say, 18, right? Like the majority of people that play sports aren't going to college or playing professional. So let's just say 18, right? So that's, you know, 15% of your life, you're doing athletic things. And then for the rest of your life, you just stop doing athletic things. And I, I'm trying to find any reason as to why we shouldn't just continue to do athletic things as we age. And I can't find any reason why you shouldn't. And we know so much about all cause mortality and how well your lifespan is, or your health span is, compared to muscle, bone density, tendon, ligament density, all those different things as you age. And so we know that strength training is important, obviously, but compared to like doing athletic things, how do we look and try to rate the importance of doing the more explosive movements? And I think you have to look at, defining different types of explosive or athletic movements. And I think the first one that comes to mind for everybody in the general population is like plyometric. And I think when you look at plyometric, a lot of people tend to just think, oh, that's just jumping, or that's just box jumps or whatever. And that's actually not the defined term. I'm hoping that Dave is looking up the defined term right now as we speak, but I believe the defined term is more about how you absorb the landing or jumping up and down off of something, or how fast something is moving, is more about plyometric than it is just doing like a standard box jump.
Yeah. So Plyometric movement, often referred to as plyos, type of exercise that focuses on explosive, rapid movements to build power. So, fundamental principle behind it is the strength shortening cycle, SSC for short, which involves
Stretch shortening cycle.
stretch. Sorry, not my strong suit today
It's okay.
with the reading. Stretch shortening cycle, or SSC, as they note here, which involves three distinct phases. You got the eccentric phase, loading slash stretching, amortization phase, transition, and then the concentric phase, the explosive contraction. So in simple terms, plyometrics is about using a quick eccentric lengthening movement to create or generate rather a more powerful concentric shortening movement. So yes, you can do box jumps and squat jumps and broad jumps, but also plyometric push-ups. I mean, they're not just doing, like you said, like, oh yeah,
So,
we're just going
like,
to do jumps.
just as a very general example, skipping,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's rapid shortening and stretching with that buffer in between that takes
Medicine
place,
ball
right?
throws. Yeah.
Medicine ball throws, depth jumps are a really good example. A vertical jump with a counter movement is a really good example of a plyometric. The box jump, what's great about the box jump and also kind of leans it more towards not being as plyometric is you're jumping up onto something, so there's not this like massive
Right.
impact. So that makes it
Right.
better for the 40 and over category versus like depth jumps. If you or I do a cycle of more than 2 weeks of depth jumps, especially me, like my knees are going to take a pounding from that because when you drop off something, gravity's pulling you back down to the earth, right? So you have to then absorb not only your weight, but multiplied times meters per second, how fast you're moving back towards the earth, which I believe is 8 meters per second. I got to clean up on my physics a little bit, but
Right.
I believe it's 9.8 meters per second is how fast, like each foot is how fast you're falling back to the earth. Um, it's one of those things where you have to pay attention to what it is that you're doing and taking into account the additional stressors that it's causing on your body when it comes to like how you program your workouts. Again, looking at the amount of time that you do sports specific work at to a certain age and then you just stop, it really just doesn't make sense to me why we a lot of people just stop doing that other than they're just not playing that sport anymore. But we know that as you age, you're a lot more likely to fall and get hurt and different things like that. And so training these movements, whatever they be, whether it just be moving a bar really fast or doing kettlebell work
Yeah.
or doing box jumps
Uh,
or
yeah.
skipping or
I was gonna
jumping
say
lower.
even like one that I wrote on here or I saw as an example, like pogo jumps, something that like you would think when it's in your programming as a client, that doesn't seem super fun. It not only is very fun because it makes you think of a pogo stick when you were a kid, but
Mhm.
also while you're doing them, it's like, well, like I can be pretty, it says here, like developing the springiness and the calves and ankles. Like I can be pretty springy if I actually work at this. The skipping, that's fun. Skipping is fun. When's the last time you skipped and didn't have fun? Like you're like, this is like kind of fun. You see it in the movies, you see it in TV shows, usually kid shows. You're having fun. You're making it not only fun, but it's functional and it's good for your as you age to still be athletic and you can do the things that maybe some of your counterparts aren't doing.
I would say like there's this if you look and I know you watch a lot of football and a lot of
Every
basketball.
game, baby. Yeah.
Well, and it seems like every game somebody's is popping their Achilles tendon.
Yeah, it's scary.
And
Yeah. Just last
sometimes it's
Thursday someone did it.
non-contact injuries, but like
Yeah.
Dave, I'm sure that if somebody offered you to go like play a pickup game of basketball at like Crunch or something like that, or wherever they have a basketball gym, you would go and do it and not even think twice about it because that's fun for you, like basketball, right? So it's like it's okay for people to go out and go and play basketball, which I guess there is a lot of plyometric movement in that, but a lot of those people are also getting injured while playing pickup basketball because they haven't previously loaded their
No
tendons or ligaments.
no stretching, no
Yeah, there's just
lengthening,
none of that.
no load happening prior, no, like, warm up, just, like, just get the run going, you know? It's
Right, and
scary.
so it's like, it
Yeah.
why are we, playing a lot of basketball, but we're not, like, training to prepare for that type of movement, and that's when the injuries occur, and I would say probably number 1 is people, like, throwing their back out, right? It's like, because 'cause they're not, they get up real quick and they're like, "Oh, my QL or, my lower back and or, it's my sciatica." It's like, "No, you sit on your ass all day and you don't move, and then when you did move or you had to move quick, you blow out your back." And it's like, that those things can be avoided just by programming in to your warm up some simplistic plyos. I mean, if you look at, like, I added that newer warm up a couple weeks ago where it was just all body weight stuff, like jumping jacks is a plyo, seal claps, flings, pogo hops, like you said, those are all plyometric things. You just built that number one, like the reason why they're in there is because they get your service central nervous system firing prior to lifting weights, right? Sometimes we have box jumps prior to squatting because that's potentiating the lower body to be more explosive, right? So, like, even for me, and I know I wanted to talk about this because I enjoy going out. So what I started doing is, for me, dynamic effort is on Friday, and you have to pay close attention to this if you want to kind of understand it. But I'll go and I'll go out to the track and I'll do simplistically what I call an extended warm up on the track prior to coming back and doing my dynamic effort workout for lower body. So I'll go out to the track and I'll do that basic workout or basic warm up that I was telling you about with the jumping jacks, seal claps,
Yep.
flings,
Yep.
pogos, body weight
Yep.
squats, reverse lunges, bird dogs, static hip flexor stretch. And then I'll go into a more dynamic part of the warm up. That's general. And then we move into dynamic, which is, it's all on your feet. I like to use the hurdles and do legs over or go under the hurdle to stretch the hips out. And it opens everything up dynamically. And then I'll move into skips for height, skips for distance, skips for speed, pogos for height, pogos for distance, pogos
Yep.
for speed. And then from there, I will do build-ups. And build-ups are essentially, you start as a jog and you build yourself up to about 75% at a certain point on the track. And then you stride out after that. And then my sprint workout will consist of really 5 or 6 sprints and at, somewhere between 70 and 85%, because I have not been doing it long enough for me to not tear a hamstring off the bone if I try to push it too hard, too fast. So you have to, sprinting something you have to work your way up to. So I'm using that as almost like a nice primer moving into doing box squats or speed deadlifts or whatever I want to do for my dynamic
So you're driving
movement.
back home and then doing the rest.
I drive back home,
Yep.
I pause. Sometimes I pause, sometimes I don't because I get the free calories, driving back home. And then I jump right in the squat rack and it's
Yeah,
like
well, you already
lightning.
primed.
It's like straight up lightning, which the reason why is that's just post activation potentiation. The sprinting and the plyos potentiated me to get my central nervous system fired up so that I'm really explosive when I squat and deadlift. And then what I do from there is I'll do the basic conjugate accessories, which is glute ham raise and reverse hyper, and I do a little abs and I'm done.
Right. And it should never, and I don't think that we can overstate this. It really shouldn't be anything other than that. Can we stop with the fucking leg extensions for 25 fucking minutes? Please. Like, can we just please, like, I'm begging you to stop doing leg extensions and leg curls for 25 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. I had to get that off. I just still see it all the time online. It's like, hey, this is how you do. No, glute ham raise, reverse hyper. Please do your conditioning. Like
Again, you
the squats are undefeated as the
yeah,
best lower body movement on a dynamic day. You're not going to change my mind. I know your mind isn't going to be changed. What are we talking about? It's just like, it's crazy to me. I like
there's
speed deads too,
so
just for
many
example, for
there's so
lower.
many ways, and I think, Dave, it's the when you look at, and I will eliminate one thing from that category is I do enjoy a standing hamstring curl every now and again, because I do think that those, if you have the right machine, and I know they have one at Westside that puts your hamstring like completely stretched where the pad is on the back of your ankle, puts in that completely stretched position. I think for the hamstrings, that's probably a good thing to do
That's
every
a
now and again.
contact that, yeah, that's a, it depends, like,
But yeah,
yes, but
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Why what is the number one reason probably people like to use a leg extension or a leg curl versus like a hack squat or a lunge or a step up or a reverse lunge, is because they get to sit down while they're doing it.
I
Or
think it's
like,
sitting. I think you're right as far as sitting down goes. I think the other thing is your favorite shitfluencer enjoys that. You know, whoever's, oh yeah, like I can see how massive my legs are. Like, no, your legs are pushing against your hamstrings, so you can see your quads flexing on the way up. This is simple, just pressure. If I just go
so
like this, now all of a sudden my bicep looks bigger. Like, it's just like, I don't.
here's another fun one that a lot of people don't really think about, because I've mentioned sprinting. So the automatic go-to for a lot of people is like, okay, well, I'm going to hop on the treadmill and I'm going to do some sprints on the treadmill. So I'm going to give you the best example I can here possible on this. So when you sprint on the treadmill, what you're creating is a quad hip dominance, and you're weakening the hamstrings because the treadmill is coming this way, right? It's rotating like this. So it pulls your leg back, eliminating any hamstring work whatsoever. And then you're using your hip and your quad to bring it up and put your foot back down, and then it rips your hamstring back. So you're not going to get the same benefit sprinting on a treadmill that you would with in terms of like just building speed and power and stuff like that, if you care about that. I'm sure the you're also not getting as many calories burned or fat burned because you're losing that concentric portion
The other thing that
of
just
the
made me
sprint.
think of is what's something you could do when you're at the track if your local high school football team already has it out that's going to mimic sprinting.
What do you like, a sled?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, hey, you're out there. You could do the sled. I mean,
I
you're on the track. You're on the track. You're getting the hamstring
Yeah,
help
so
too.
like
But I'm saying you're on the track. You
I want to
also are getting with the sled, like you're mimicking a sprint. If someone's like, "Oh, I really want to do sprints," like I would say a lot of these gyms now have a turf area where you can mimic the sprint. I think sleds are 100 times more fun than doing sprinting at 230 something pounds.
so
If you put sleds in for the rest of my life, I would say this is way more fun than sprinting. That being said, if you put it in, you put it in.
I mean, sometimes I put it in and you will skip it. So
I do it. I do it. By the way, I just wanted to go back and touch on what we said. For people who don't regularly work out, that was a shot. The most common activities they do. That's fair. That's fine. That's, you know what?
no,
It's
because you go,
fair.
oh, dude, the strap's broken. I left it in my car. I don't want to go out
They
in the
did break. They did break that time, and I got new ones. All right. So for the people who don't regularly work out, the most common activities they do without warming up are often recreational sports or weekend pursuits that require bursts of movement that they aren't prepared for. Basketball, you said, flag or touch football. That came to my mind because I had years ago I invited to one. Softball or baseball. Another reason I don't do men's softball leagues, is because I just don't want to get injured. Tennis or pickleball, I actually do warm up when I do get to play pickleball. And then running in general, you will see someone say, like, I'm just going to go for a run. Like, I have a friend who's super into running. I know for a fact he warms up because he's like, I'm actually training for like a half marathon. I really want to do it. It might be a full, actually.
I
Why
just
is
feel
this?
like you're gonna do it. If you're gonna do
Yeah.
something like that,
Commit to it.
like take it
Right.
serious. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
so for me, if we can jump back to, because you brought up something that it's important for people to understand, like let's say for the whoever is listening to this decides that I think that I want to get into some form of sprinting because I'm listening and I see the benefit. And I can tell you from myself personally, at the minimum, I've seen the benefit in increased mobility, right? And I feel like my conditioning is better for that type of activity because it's very anaerobic. And maybe when we do zone two stuff, we're not doing really anything anaerobic that involves that level of intensity. So for me, I'm getting another aspect of an energy system that's not getting used that often for sprinting because again, you never know when you're going to have to take off and run. And if you're running from something or somebody or going to help somebody and you try to take off full speed out of nowhere, like, I'm sorry, dude, you're blowing something off, especially if you never do this. So you're going to pull your hamstring, pull a quad, throw your back out, pop your Achilles, pull your calf, whatever. So it's important. And that's also like if you're not strong. But if someone decides they're going to they're going to listen to what we're saying and say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I want to start mixing this in every now and again. To me, there's really two places you can start. And you mentioned one of them, and that's the sled. Okay. So typically what you'll say in terms of like sprinting is that I want to say it's like 10% of your body weight or less is what you want to use to really hit those max velocities that you're looking for to improve, things like speed and power and stuff like that. If you don't care about that and you're just doing it for fun and you're trying to get yourself to the point where you can sprint again, because Dave, if I sent you out to the track right now and I said, dude, I want you to run a full speed 40-yard dash after a warm up, like, how do you feel about that? You're probably thinking,
Not great.
I don't know, bro. Like that might result in an injury
Sure.
because
Yeah.
push you're opening yourself up so much more, and you got to think about physics and how much force you're putting into the ground with
Yeah.
each
The force.
step. Your body is not ready to handle those contact forces, right? So you start with the sled. So if you slap a 45-pound plate on a sled, right, and you go out to a track or some strip of turf or even the street outside, you're not going to be able to run full speed, but you will be able to put the maximum amount of effort into that full speed sprint without injuring yourself, right? So you start with the sled. You do a couple weeks with the sled, either adding weight or decreasing weight as you go, probably decreasing as you're getting closer to being able to do full speed. And then what you do for your next cycle is you find yourself a hill. Okay. And hill sprints are great because they don't allow you to really open up your stride, but they still require max effort to propel yourself up that surface, right? So you're not going to get hurt doing hill sprints and you can go really, really, really hard, 100%, and you're not going to get hurt. Again, still controlling the amount of work that you're doing and adding progressive overload as you go. Then, and only then, should you head out to flat ground with just your body weight and start doing things like skipping and bounding and pogos and different things like that and build ups to where, so like right now, like this is my deload week. So when I went today, I didn't go any more than like 70% for a couple of sprints on the track after the warm up. What I did last week is I got myself up to about 80% and also 80% of what I perceive to be like my full stride length because I have long legs, so I'm more of a strider. I don't believe in short choppy steps because it's like you're trying really hard to go nowhere. Okay. It's just all gonna depend on your body size and type. But had I gone out there, and this is coming from me, I played football for a very long time. I'm very strong. Okay. If I was to go out there and try to go 100%, I'm coming back limping, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be a
This is
long road.
from yeah. This is coming from someone who's played professionally, semi-professionally, and college, like high school, high level. Like you didn't have a shit program. You came from a
Right.
legit program at every step.
But I haven't, other than the ones, mediocre sled sprints that I throw in like once a month for like 5 or 6 reps as part of a warm up, I haven't done anything outside of a slow jog when I go out for runs or whatever. So it's not something that anybody should consider just jumping right into unless you're like 20. And even then, you still got to warm up and prepare properly. But in your age group, my age group, and beyond, there's no reason why you can't continue to sprint, and it's going to pay you dividends in the future. And you can look up, dude, I saw the other day, this guy was there. They had a track competition for like super masters, which is like 65 and up. And some dude was like 75 and he ran a 13 flat. And it's like, think about
What?
that for a second. Think about that for a second. Now, he was not Caucasian, so genetics are at play there, but still though, it's one of those things where it's like a 13-second 100-yard dash for somebody that's 75 years old. Find me somebody.
800 meters or
Yeah,
yards? Okay.
100 meters. Find me somebody.
12.59 is the fastest over 70. Sorry, go ahead.
What is it?
Over 70 is 12.59 for male,
Hey, that's insane.
14.64 for female. I couldn't even
That's
tell you how much mine would be. I don't even think I could beat 14.64.
insane.
Could
Like,
you beat
and
that?
like, no. When you think
14?
about
Yeah.
no, I don't know. I mean, if I trained for it, I know I could
Yeah,
probably hit the 12,
sure.
but like,
Right.
again, it's a matter of like, think about when you think of my dad's 75 and he's very fit for 75. And I would say, and I know he's going to listen to this, I would say for certain he could do a hard jog for 100 meters and be fine. But to ask him to sprint,
Like he could complete it.
it's just not gonna his
He
knees
could
aren't
complete it, but he couldn't sprint it, is what you're saying.
right. And I think
Your
Dave,
mom is the same?
no, my mom wouldn't be able to do it. But
Could not complete it? Okay.
no,
Yeah.
but
Well,
and
she has other health concerns,
I
you
mean,
said.
she's got her joints and stuff aren't great right
Yeah.
now. So like, love you, mom. But like thinking about why is that? And it's simply because people just stop doing it. That's what it all boils down to. It's the same thing with your body changing as you age. Most of the time, you get less and less jacked because you just stop doing it. And it's like because you don't feel like it, whether it's your hormones or your joints are killing you or whatever. A lot of people are using these activities almost as like a natural analgesic for pain relief, right? It's strength training and plyometrics and running. All these things help to stave off the whole process of aging. So the longer you do these things, just the better off you're going to be. And that's why people slow down is because they just stop doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I was just looking through my notes. I just wanted to touch on the people who Damian Leake and Wendy Alexis's backgrounds. It says that Damian Leake was the highest, the 12.59 and 70 years old, 70 plus. I actually don't know how specifically old he was, but he was actually an actor, a coach, and a master's track athlete. So he's been on a bunch of shows. There's been a few film credits in here: Apocalypse Now, The Great Debaters, West Wing, Nip Tuck, Prison Break. He was actually like a political activist as well, but then he was, after a long hiatus from competitive running, returned to the sport as a master's athlete, inspired to train seriously after someone noted he was close to a world record at his first meet. He also coaches young junior Olympic track athletes. Said like finding success, helping a child find success is a wonderful feeling. This other lady, Wendy Alexis, is a teacher. So she was a top sprinter and then had some injuries and then just became a special education teacher. And then when she's 50 years old, inspired to return to sprinting after her son noted that old people train too. She's from Ottawa in Ontario. And then her late grandfather was also a competitive sprinter. So I think that it's everything that you said. Like people stop doing it because like life does get in the way. They find excuses for life to get in the way. And then the other thing is you do have to have that competitive background, or maybe there is someone in your family. I've heard, is his name John Brown, the guy who is the father of the St. Brown brothers? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Mm.
His father.
Yeah, but don't get me started on that guy because he says some really stupid things.
There's a few things that
And
I'd rather he didn't say.
he
Yeah.
says some really stupid things when it comes to strength and conditioning and what he does with his kids. And
What was it? The soda comment that he made, and then the other comment.
soda and candy. But then this like, they just train like bodybuilders because that's what he did. And in his mind, like that's what everybody should do. And it's like, let's just stop. You have two sons in the NFL. So we can use peak genetics as 75-80% of
Yeah.
their success, right? Along with the work, but it's not your bodybuilding style of workouts that have gotten them or propelled them to the level that they're at. And
Well, I
by
think
the
his
way,
mom I think their mom too also was like had like a renting, let me see here. She was a physical therapist. Yeah, but I think she also did some sort of athletic background. Like she was very good as well. It wasn't just
right,
him. I
right.
feel like a lot of people aren't like giving her enough credit for like getting them, to where they need to be too.
I think, and again, like just to touch, like, let me bring it back to mom and throw her a shout out. Like, my mom never played sports or anything like that. So
Sure.
for her, it's like, why would I even do that in the first place? Like but from a gene standpoint, you can't find me somebody that is her age that has the quality of skin and hair that that woman has. Like, it's absolutely incredible. And so, like, she has no wrinkles, like, at 70 plus years old. Like, so I think everybody's situation is probably different to say, like, hey, could you do this at a certain age? Like, let's just bring that full circle. I would venture to say there's not many 40-year-olds that could run a 12.5 100-meter
No. Yeah.
ever
No.
without even with training.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Certainly there's a genetic component to that. But again, it's going to be all about not stopping. And so I think there's just like people can mix that stuff into their training. They
Right.
just have to figure out the right way to do it.
Yeah, so you said sprinting to start with sled, next cycle, hill sprints, and then now you're doing your.
Like, 70% buildups over time. It's like if I wanted to run full speed, let's just say like I wanted to run a 40-yard dash just to see where I was at. I would give myself at my age 6 months to a year of slow progressions to get to that
Right.
to that
Right.
point where you could full speed open up. I mean, you're talking about mobility work, massages,
Yep.
all the
And
recovery stuff, like all of that stuff would have to
and
be.
have you seen we're in the second week or third week of September, have you seen the people, like, before fantasy drafts, they would, like, have, like, 40-yard dash or, like, bench press,
And they all get hurt.
and they're all getting hurt or deadlift, and I'm like I send it to my buddies, and I'm like, "I'd win this competition," but I also would be like, "Hey, I'm gonna warm up actually for 20 minutes before I get on the bar," and they
And
probably all make fun of me.
I think most people with a quality warm up could open up to 75-80% of full speed and probably be okay if they're decently athletic and they work out, right? But beyond that, I don't think a lot of people understand what full speed means.
Right.
Actually try hard to
Hit
run as
full speed.
fast as you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. A lion is chasing you, and if he catches you, you're dead.
Yeah. So like, what do they make that you hear the joke all the time? Like, if there's a zombie apocalypse, like who's going first? Right? Like who's
I would
dying
I
first?
would say most people that we know that don't train.
Probably most Americans,
Most Yeah. Aren't we like the
because
fattest
we're like
country?
the least healthy country out there.
Yeah. We
I mean,
are,
it's
we're not
I'm
focused on health, that's for sure.
yeah, I mean, luckily it's changing some, I think. But
Dude, we
like,
got Triple H in the presidential fitness test, okay? So, you know what? America is back on top, and I still feel this way. If we had United Nations and it would be a pickup basketball game between every other country and the US, dude, we would train for it and we would win.
listen, it's that there's something to be said with the gene
Yeah.
pool here, and like if you look at the very top, right, the very top of the athletic food chain, America is going to sit up there for most things, right? Because for whatever reason, we just the gene pool is super strong here. There are some other things, maybe like weightlifting or wrestling, that we wouldn't be the very top of, but I'm talking about like the Gen Pop group that's down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, we're suffering
We're
there.
way at the bottom because of
Sure.
obesity.
Right.
It's just what it is because
We don't walk a lot of places as opposed to other
other exactly,
countries, and
exactly.
we definitely rely on our own transportations more so than our own 2 feet. But I did
And
wanna get back to
we don't have strict regulations on all the ultra processed food like all the other countries do.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So the other thing I was gonna say is, like, getting back to, like, why is it so important? I can't find my pen. Why is it so important to train for as an older adult to put in these athletic movements is I mean, we've already talked about this before on previous episodes, but it improves functional movement and longevity. So, I think I've mentioned this so many times. I mean, you and I both stress the importance of squatting and lunging and carries, like mimicking those actions that we perform in daily life. Squatting is sitting down and standing up from a chair. Lunge, you're climbing your stairs. I mean, a lot of one levels down here in the South, but you're focusing on functional fitness, translating to a reduced risk of falls. Now we're not able to complete household tasks like doing the laundry, taking out your own garbage, bringing in the groceries. I mean, those are things that if you're independent, you can live longer. But another thing you and I have, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, do you feel, and I know the answer to this, but like, let's say you and Emily and Theo are in the car going somewhere and the battery dies. You feel super comfortable getting out and pushing that car to whatever point of safety, right? There's no lack of comfort or confidence in you being able to just get out and push that car, where a lot of people, like, they're just gonna sit there and wait for the tow truck, dude.
Waiting for the
And
tow truck. Yeah.
I'm not sitting and waiting on the side of the road for somebody to come smashing into my car the way these idiots drive. Right. And
Yeah.
so
It's not
again,
worth the
like,
risk when you
there's
when you know you can do it. Yeah.
when you know, like, the confidence in that is just incredible. If I'm playing golf with Jack, which I've been playing a lot more golf lately, and we're walking a course, and I can tell, he's just having one of those days where he's tired. Like, I have no problem grabbing his bag and my bag and just hauling it all and him and just hauling it all over the course if I need to, because it's not, I do that stuff on the regular at a much heavier load. And so that's not going to have any impact on me.
Grabbing your son at what, 50 pounds,
Yeah, he's like
maybe?
65 pounds now. Yeah.
Grabbing a 65-year-old human, a tiny human, that is your son,
Yeah.
versus like 400 pounds. Oh my God. So easy, dude. Yeah. Let
And
me go
yeah,
ahead and grab this guy.
exactly. And so, like, walking up hills, walking down hills,
Hmm.
proprioception, all these different
Yeah.
things are
Yep.
impacted in the safest sport known to man is probably golf, I would say, other than if you consider esports a sport. I would say golf
It's a
minus,
sport. It's
yes, to some, which gaming is cool. I don't have, like,
very
it's
cool.
not a
It's very
physical
cool.
sport. So
Yeah.
golf
We're talking
by
about
nature
physical. Yeah.
is a power sport. You're driving your hips, your legs, and your upper body through the ball, through a stick, through contact, right? But it's one of the more safer sports. But, like, you don't see a lot of people walking the course when they play compared to driving the carts. I just, that's just one of those things that I think the reason for that is most people just are not in shape to walk 7,000 yards of up and
No.
down and up and
No.
down and up and down.
And
So
and that's another point on here, right? So you're combating sarcopenia and preserving that muscle mass because you're basically doing weighted carries if you're grabbing all this stuff at a very minimal amount, but you're
yeah,
also enhancing balance, coordination, agility, being able to walk in different planes. I need to walk in this short little area. Someone's coming over, and the other part, when you're walking the course, let me move over real quick. Oh, I got to jump out of the way. There's a snake on the course. I mean, something as simple as that. You're out in Kentucky. There is snow at times. You fall down, or you have to stand on one foot after you slip off the other one. Okay. Or
I
you
got,
take a
I got,
fall.
I got a great example.
Yeah.
So I was out with Jack. There's a par 3 short course at the place where he goes to golf camp every week. And right now the water's really low because it hasn't rained in like 4 or 5 weeks at the course. So all the balls that people have hit into the water are now starting to show on the shore. And I was like, you can never have enough golf balls, right? So I grab a 3 wood and I start walking down this super steep hill to start snatching some of the, because you can only go so far and then it gets really muddy. It's like quicksand. And so I go down to start kind of snatching up some of these balls out so I can clean them off and put them in my bag. And we're talking about the hills like this steep with mud. And I took a step and my feet just started to go out from under me because of how muddy it was. And somehow I threw my hand around, put it down because I had nice golf clothes on and I'm not ruining my nice golf clothes. And I didn't even let my butt touch the ground. Nothing touched. I kept both feet down. I did not fall. I slipped. I did not fall. And I was able to catch myself. Now, I would venture to say that a lot of people in that situation go tumbling down into the water because of how steep the hill was from slipping. So that shit's going to happen, right? Like you take a step and if you hit a muddy patch, you're going to slip and fall. If you get up or if you catch yourself is the difference between me and you.
Yeah,
You know what I
definitely.
mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was picturing that and I was thinking, okay, he's either going to fall down or he's going to break his fall and just calmly get up and not be worried. Even if he does fall, he's not hurting himself. He might just be a little upset about the
I
clothes.
was I was more worried that I was going to drop the 10 golf balls that I had grabbed and get my clothes dirty. And I was like Matrix style, put my hand back, caught myself and
Yeah,
stood right up
right.
and it was
Was
fine.
Jack watching this?
He had his back to me, so he didn't see it. But I'm like, "Hey, I just about busted my tail." And he's like, "You all right, Dad?" But
Yeah.
so, and everything was fine. I salvaged the golf balls. It didn't hurt.
Wouldn't you say that means something too, that even as a kid, like, he knows, like, dad's gonna be okay? Like,
I
mom
think
and
that,
dad are gonna be okay because they take care of themselves, like, I don't really see
yeah,
that
like
happening.
I
Yeah.
don't think that my kids, and I do enough with them for them to know that there's not really a limit to like the amount of play that I can do with them. Now, if I don't skip workouts if I'm going to play 18 with him. I just go ahead and work out. And then I make sure that I warm up again when I go play 18. And that's not to say that I'm not like tired or, my knees aren't achy after walking 18 holes. Or even if you drive 18 holes, you're still walking a lot. And that's not to say that I'm not like sore or tired after doing that. But it's just to say that when you have a certain fitness level that encompasses a lot of different things, aka conjugate, right? Or concurrent. And it encompasses a lot of different things. You're so much more likely to be able to handle different stressors. So one stressor to me may just be like picking up a Coke can versus to somebody else and maybe like trying to lift a car. It's just it's different. And so when you go and do these things, you're just going to be a lot better off. By the way, saying that you made a funny face, the Coke can compared to pushing a car or lifting a car. Are you watching the show called Alien Earth?
No, I saw content creator
Are you
talk
into
about
that
it.
whole lore thing with Alien and Predator and all that? So
Nope,
I am because I grew
yeah.
up watching that stuff. So Timothy Olyphant is a hybrid cyborg human in this show, and he
I
plays this
like
very
Timmy O.
very sarcastic, almost dark comedic role. And so what they've created is they're the first hybrid humans where they transfer consciousness into a cybernetic body from a living body into a cybernetic body and they create like these superhuman people. And the main characters is the first one, Wendy. She's a female and she obviously looks nothing like what she looked like from her natural body. And long story short, they go and find her brother, and her brother realizes that it's her sister inside this human body, and they're all on this island. And this island is contracted by this super trillionaire genius that doesn't want to let anybody off of the island because he's researching and studying them to be able to roll that out into the human population as a way of extending aging. And the brother goes up to Timothy Olyphant and says, what are the odds that I could, she at some point she's going to need help, right? Like I'm going to need to help her out. And Timothy Olyphant's character looks at the brother and he goes, "That would be like an onion suggesting he could help a star." And it's like it's the most outrageous example, but it makes perfect sense because they've created these hybrid humans that have no weaknesses. They
Yeah.
have no fear. They just are complete super.
So she's definitely gonna need my help. She won't need your help, bro.
Yeah,
No, but she might. She won't.
it was
That's what I'm hearing.
compared to like trying to lift a car is probably an
Yeah.
outrageous example, but an
Yeah.
onion trying to help a star, that's pretty outrageous, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, things are just easier. When we're talking like what is the general application here for doing these types of movement and these types of workouts? Life is so much easier when
Right.
you
And
have a high level
that's
of.
where I was gonna get into it, was the high prevalence of sarcopenia and its consequences. So you have the prevalence of sarcopenia, muscle loss, right? Age-related muscle loss, estimated to range from 5% to 13% in people aged 60 to 70, and it can increase to 11% to 50% in those over 80. And that's if you make it to 80. Associated risks, so it's not just a weakness, not just about weakness. People with sarcopenia are at a 1.88 times, so almost 2 times greater risk of suffering falls, which is a leading cause of injury-related deaths in older adults. So you're losing your independence, and then you're not strong enough to survive that sort of trauma to your body at an older age. I know that if I, God forbid, fell at 33 and broke my hip, I'd be okay. It
Right.
would be a road to recovery, but you'd be okay, right? Versus you're 80 years old, you don't work out, that's probably a death sentence.
But also, Dave, the likelihood that if you were to fall, for you to break your hip is so unlikely because of the amount of muscle mass that you
Right, right.
in the lower body.
We're
Jumping
talking
off the
about the
roof.
risk. Yeah, yeah. The only risk is like, am I a stuntman? Like,
Mhm.
am I running for my life away? I mean, I was at the dentist the other day. They were talking about like my implant and I had like a root canal and they put in an implant. And she goes, "So does it shift when you run?" I go, "Hold up, I don't run." First off, if I'm running, there's something wrong. I said, I'm either running away from something or I'm dying. That's the only reason that you would run.
Well,
But also,
go ahead.
I was going to say, you have an increased risk of falls and functional decline if you don't work out. So not only are you going to have the consequences of sarcopenia to suffer a fall, but then even if you don't suffer a fall, you're still at a huge risk. The prevalence of falls associated with sarcopenia reached 90.7%. The impact on daily lives, only 50% of older adults who experience this decline ever fully recover. That's why we see so many people in nursing homes, in hospitals, having like home care, home health aides. You wouldn't need that if you worked out every day.
Yeah, and so we
For most
know
cases. Most
we
cases.
know, and I do wanna touch on, like, the implications for VO2 and the cardiac implications of doing this type of work because, again, that's a whole other, can of worms there, but I can't remember the doctor's name. He's been on Huberman a few times, he's been on Jordan Syatt's podcast, but he was saying that it is insanely difficult to lose mass amounts of muscle mass in shorter periods of time, right? So, what that would tell me is that if you continue to train and train hard and continue to make progressions and try and get stronger, there is no real reason why somebody can't carry most of their muscle mass into their 70s and 80s. And I think nowadays, with the way technology is,
Are you
and
talking about Dr. Andy Galpin?
no,
Okay.
this guy, he's
It says here he did say it is insanely difficult to lose large amounts of muscle in a
Galpin
short period.
has done some research. I think it's Alan Aragon is his name. He's maybe half Asian, half white looking. I'm not really sure. Trying not to be derogatory in any way here, but that's what he looks like. But he did a whole thing on like it's how hard it is to really lose a good bit. And we're not talking about like, the transformation that has happened with recently with like The Rock or with Dave Batista. I don't know if you've seen like The Rock lost, I don't know, 30 pounds.
Well,
That's
I think we know why he
yeah, I mean,
lost
this is
the
completely different.
weight.
Again, I think if if on a and I don't want to go down the hormones route here, but like if he's just doing TRT, I think he still maintains most of his muscle mass. At this point, like there's no way he's producing normal amounts of
Right.
testosterone. But
Yeah.
I think that those guys, I honestly, just to be short and brief here, I think he had some kind of health scare and his doctor said, look, you got to
I
stop
think he
doing
did have a
X,
health
Y, and
I think he
Z.
did. Yeah.
And, and that's why he got smaller. But if you keep yourself healthy, like look at Stan Efferding. Stan
Yeah.
Efferding's freaking 60 years old and he's still deadlifting 585, 600 for doubles. Dude,
Loves Dan. Just moving to
dude,
Hawaii? Or did he move to a specific island in Hawaii?
I'm not I'm not sure. I
He
know
moved
his wife
some
is an islander, so that makes
he moved to one of the islands.
but
Yeah.
like you can stay jacked into your 60s and 70s. There's no reason why you can't. You just have to know what the freak you're doing. And that's what it boils down to. Like you can't stop. You got to keep going. And it's just one of those things where you have to pay close attention to what's going on, right? And there's just no reason. So that's my mindset. Like as I get older, my mindset right now is like I truly believe in my heart of hearts that everything in my life right now is like the best. So everything that I have, that I'm doing, my physical capacities, other than things being achy, let's not remove that portion of it. Other than things being achy, like this is the best part of my life right now. And I can remember my dad telling me, he's like, don't worry about turning 40 because I felt like 40s were I was peak everything and even into 50s. And so for me, like I think of myself right now, I'm 43, but I think of myself as being 33 because I don't feel
Right,
what
exactly.
43 is supposed to feel like.
And the other thing I was gonna say is like this kind of connects like The Rock, and then it connects to Bautista, but I think it also connects to you and even someone like myself, like finally understanding it all. Of there's nothing wrong with it. Says here like I guess there was like initial. These are the reports that like initially like the health scare was like incorrect, like there was plaque buildup in his arteries, but he said
Yeah.
like I did it for movie roles and stuff. But I mean he was 300 to around 240. That's The Rock, right? And he's still not done slimming down. I do believe a part of it is he wants to do more roles and like, hey, like I can be around longer if I just slim down a little bit. I don't have to be
Right.
300 pounds. Same with Bautista. I think I didn't even realize he had been up to all the way to 370 and he weighed as much as 315 in a role at Knock at the Cabin, and now he's
Oh my god,
240.
dude, did you watch that movie?
I'll have to watch
It's
it.
an
I don't
it's an
believe
M.
so.
Night Shyamalan movie. It's really, really good.
I don't know if I've seen. I'm gonna say no, but also he's around 240, which he considers to be the lightest he's ever been since 19. And then he did say he feels a lot more alive. His health is better. He's doing jujitsu. He's doing mostly a plant-based diet. It wasn't easy to walk around. I mean, functional training versus bodybuilding. And that's where, even as someone at 33, almost 34, at 230 plus pounds, I do think that 205 to 215 is probably a lot better on the joints. In 10 years, where I'm sitting where you and I are hopefully, still very close, and I say, wow, man, like honestly, 205, 215, this feels a heck of a lot better than 235, 24. I've
It's
gotten all the way
all
up to
yeah.
265. At
But Dave,
5'10, 265, you don't
if
play
you could
sports for a living.
be if you could be 225, 230 and have the same body fat level as you maybe have at 205, 210,
Yeah.
what would you be losing there,
Yeah, you're
right?
fat. Yeah.
It would be fat, right? So like, for me, what's the kind of give or take that like I sit comfortably between 240 and 245, and I don't have any issues that I'm aware of internally with anything as far as like my blood work or my blood pressure or anything like that, other than like the amount of coffee that I drink. But regardless of that, like I'm not feeling the effects of holding this amount of mass into my
Sure.
40s.
Sure.
And I do understand that at some point, like, it's gonna make more sense for me to be 230 and then 220 at some point. I'm
Yeah.
just not ready to go there yet because I do still feel like I'm peaking. And I'm not, like, lying to myself and saying, like, I'm selling myself this dream of, you know, what I can be or whatever. It's just like, when you're older, you're smarter, you have more wisdom, you could do things differently, you understand how to build muscle and do it safer and have more longevity. And that's one thing, like, um Matt Wenning talks a lot about is, you know, he's benched 500 pounds or more from 18 years old to 40. I think he's 46 or 47. Okay. So, like, I look at that and I'm like, oh, I've benched at least 405 from 18 until 43. Right. That's longevity. How many guys that I played football with are as strong or stronger comparatively now as they were then? None. I would say probably none. And
That you knew in
so
high school? Probably none. Yeah, it's just
no,
you're just
and
looking
even
at
in
the you
college, like,
yeah,
guys that played professionally, like, they just
right.
it's all a matter of, like, staying with it. And it's not to say that they couldn't go out and get that strong, but to say every single year from 18 to 43, I've minimum been able to bench 405. Like, that's longevity, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
longevity in strength, right? Why does that have to go away?
I mean,
It
it
doesn't.
definitely doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. And the other thing too is, we can talk about this. I would hope everyone already knows the two main things is the link between sedentary lifestyle and cognitive decline. So you're having an increased dementia risk. So spending 12 hours a day in sedentary behaviors can lead to a 63% higher risk of dementia compared to those who are less sedentary. I know we can't control in general, if you went to school for accounting, you can't control sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day. But you can control what you do outside of those hours. You can control whether your brain atrophies. You can control those higher healthcare costs. So the financial burden, it says one report found that a lack of physical activity accounts for roughly $24 billion a year in healthcare expenditures. Individual costs. Active adults incurred $1,355 more. I'm sorry. One study found that insufficiently active adults incurred $1,355 more than active adults in annual healthcare costs, while completely inactive adults incurred $2,025 more per year. $2,025
I mean,
more per year. So preventable,
if there's,
preventable conditions, right? We've talked about this before. Coronary disease. So 22% of coronary disease, 18% of osteoporotic fractures, and 12% of diabetes, hypertension, quality of life. And then you did mention like high blood pressure. I have high blood pressure, but I think that's just how I am. But certainly every time they look at me and they go, well, the weight, and I kind of out myself. I tell them, yeah, if you lost 10, 15 pounds, it'd probably be better, huh? And they go, well, but
I mean,
yeah,
really depends though,
it does
Dave. Like,
depend. Yeah.
what you again, I do mine, shameless plug here, but I use this is like the most accurate one, I guess. And sometimes when you go to the doctor, they will slap on a cuff
The cuff doesn't work for
on
me.
me that's made for like a baby. And I'm like, dude, my arms are 18 inches and that thing says 15 inches. So it's going to make your numbers go higher. But I do this every morning. Sometimes I do it in the afternoon too, just to develop an average. And again, I'm between 240 and 245 is where I fluctuate. And I'm mostly, for the most part, like 125 over 60, and my resting heart rate is like right around 52. And so every day. So I just don't like, if there's no drawback for me being the way that I am, then I just don't see a reason for me to not. Like, I can sprint, I can jump, I'm strong, I'm fairly lean. Like, there's just really no drawback to all the good that can come from doing that for my family or for myself.
Right. Yeah, I have stage 2 hypertension, but 150 over 97 at the dentist the other day. Like, let me take your blood pressure. I don't know if anyone else feels this way that's listening. It's like, yeah, I don't need my blood pressure taken. Like, let's just get in there, let's clean the teeth, and let's get out
I
of here.
I would give you 10 points for white coat,
Yeah.
You know what the white coat is, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
your
you
blood pressure
start
goes
springing
up
up
because
a
you don't
little
like
bit
going
more
to
when
the
you see the
doctor.
doctor. Yeah.
10 points for white coat, maybe another 5 to 8 points for the size of the cuff and not knowing the position that you're in. So, if you read, which you have many times, what's the book that we talk about all the time?
Live?
Outlive.
Only read it
He
once. Yeah.
he literally outlines how specific you have to be with reading blood pressure in order to get a good reading. So you have to be stationary without moving for 5 minutes to get an accurate blood pressure. Your arm has to be equal to your heart and you have to be sitting down. A lot of places they just slap it on there and they just expect that, and they're like, "Oh, you have your blood pressure's a little elevated. Is this
Yeah, they
normal?"
did one of these. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, or they put one on your wrist. It's just not going to be. There's
Yeah,
just
that's
not
what it
the
was. It was on the wrist, and I'm like, I don't know if
no,
the wrist is,
no, dude. So this one is the
accurate.
highest. This is the highest rated one, the Omron that you can get. This was like $65 on Amazon. It's battery powered, so it doesn't plug into anything,
Yeah, Emily got one when she was pregnant. Not that one, I think another one, but
and it works fine. So,
yeah. I'm
like,
gonna check it after this just to send it to you.
yeah, again, you have to be stationary. There's a lot of coffee, caffeine, those things can impact
Yeah,
it. So,
I
like,
love coffee.
you might be
Yeah.
135 over 80 when it says you're 149 over 90, right? It's like,
Right.
now if you were consistently 150 over 90, I would say it's time, to focus in on the finer tuning things with your nutrition and the
Hey, we're
cardio.
back on the plan. I didn't mention that. We're back on the plan. We're 2 weeks, this is the second week in. Already lost almost, 5 pounds, something like that. I don't know. I forgot what it said, but, we're thinking we're gonna be sub 230 this week, so slow
Cool.
and steady wins the race.
Yes, sir.
It's not a seasonal thing, and I think it's something to mention to our followers as always is or our listeners as always is, like, in 6 to 12 months, I'll still be working on this goal of, like, losing a little bit of fat here and there. You'll still be working on that, and it's never gonna end. It's never gonna not end.
Well, and I think it speaks to, prior to Emily getting pregnant, you probably couldn't have cared less, right?
About
Or
my
you
health? Oh, yeah,
just
no.
in
No, I was
general, it's
gonna
like,
be on this planet for as long as I was gonna be on it, and it didn't really matter
yeah, and
because there's
then the
nothing
minute you
attaching
have a
me to
kid,
staying. Yeah,
I think the real special people, the real parents are the ones that are willing to make, physical sacrifices. And that may not always be their health at first. That may mean, like, my parents, for example, they weren't always healthy anyways, but my dad had to work nights and my mom worked days so that they could both be there for us when they needed to be there, right? That's a sign of a good parent, is someone that's willing to make sacrifices, either physically or with their employment or whatever, to make sure that their kids have everything that they need. But I think the overarching, the highest possible thing that you could sacrifice is a little bit of time to be healthier,
yeah,
because
exactly.
your kids, if you asked any kid, especially a kid that's lost a parent to whatever, they would care less about the simplistic things, and they would just say, or the tangible things, and they would just say, I just wanted my parent to be there, to be here right
Sure.
now,
Yeah,
right? So I think that's where people can really grasp this concept of, like, how important it is to be healthy and to be there for your kids. That's the ultimate sacrifice, is taking care of yourself. And over time, it's fun. You and I love training, so it's like,
yeah,
it's
it's
not
really fun.
hard.
Yeah.
But the health component of it is like, you got to learn to love,
Mhm.
nutrition, and you
Yep.
got to learn to love doing your zone two
Right.
and
Oh,
your
yeah,
golf.
right. You're enjoying the journey, right? Like, on Tuesday, she was off, and today's Thursday. She was off, and we did our conditioning workout together, and it was like, I enjoy doing it with her rather than I'll do it by myself at a different part of the day. Same with today. I'd rather enjoy being out there with her and now enjoying the process. And it's something I listened to. Dan Orlovsky was on McAfee yesterday, and he was saying, like, oh yeah, I really enjoy working out. It gets me just like in a right headspace. But something he left out that I honestly thought he was going to say is, like, I know he's married with children, And I was waiting for him, and I'm surprised he didn't say it, which is like, yeah, dude, like I want to be on this planet for another. I mean, I was just thinking about it when you were talking. I want to be on this planet for another 50 years. If I can be in my 80s and still move around like this, and then Theo's a grown up, he's 50 years old and I'm still living, like that is a huge W in my book.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm semi-independent, hopefully all the way independent. We saw her grandfather at 90 years old. He doesn't walk with a cane. He doesn't have any assistance whatsoever ever. He can do everything by himself. He can still drive, he can still walk somewhere. I mean, that is crazy, right? He can still feed himself. I mean, if you can feed yourself, you can wipe your own ass. You're crushing it at life, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Dress yourself. Yeah. The cologne was a little heavy. I said, "What's going on here?" But, she said, "Well, the alternative is him not being here, so just get over it," right?
Or the other alternative is he could smell like mothballs.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, but it's a journey, and I'm just, I mean, 50 more years, dude, yeah, you'd be 93.
And that's what you're
All
training
your
for.
kids would be so grown up, and they have kids. I mean, isn't the goal once you have a kid, like, to say, "Hey, I wanna see you grow up," and then, be in the same position as me if they choose to have a child, or if they choose to just maybe be an uncle or an aunt. Like, I wanna see you running around with little kids. Like, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Your dad and your mom see you running around with your kids, and they're like, "Hell yeah." Like, that's sick, you know?
Yep.
Like, remember, my mom still says you're still a baby to me. Like, whether you want to believe it or not, you're still a baby. And it's cool that you have a baby. Well, I guess we'll end it with that. Yeah. This has been another episode of the Conjugate Dads Podcast, sponsored by Common Athlete Performance Coaching. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM us on our Instagram. I believe it's Conjugate Dads Podcast, and you could also just directly message Justin or myself, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.